6 months ago, I decided to purchase the S25 Ultra and a nightmare ensued. Legal battles with Samsung, dangerous levels of heat, the home screen using 10 gigs of RAM, and the list went on. So I buried the phone, never to speak of it again. But it's been 6 months and a lot has changed. Trudeau isn't Prime Minister, the states have concentration camps, so has Samsung been able to solve all the bugs and issues that hindered the S25 Ultra experience? Let's find out. Now, before we start, this case is pretty cool, right? It's linked down below in the description in case you're interested, and I actually pre-ordered a second one specifically for my Z Flip 7. I absolutely love this like transparent tech trend. I'm all for it. Okay, let's talk about the most pertinent issues that S25 Ultra users, including myself, were experiencing 6 months ago, and then we'll get into whether Samsung managed to fix them after, loads of updates. And no small amount of controversy around those updates. First of all, most importantly, has the battery gotten better? When I first started using the phone, forget all-day battery, I'd be lucky if I didn't get heat burns on my thighs. This phone was not only unable to last me the entire day, but it would overheat so badly that apps would be forced to shut down in bulk to reduce the heat. That was 6 months ago. So before using the phone now, I downloaded all the updates and we're currently on the July update. I updated security, then I tweaked a few settings I read about online. First, I put the phone in light mode. This lowers the threshold at which the phone will kick down the performance so that it doesn't hopefully overheat and kill the battery. The next most pertinent issue from 6 months ago, the camera. Earlier this year when I was taking photos, there was a whole plethora of problems with focusing, terrible low light performance, videos had insane amount of jitters, and obviously the AI post-processing was on steroids. So I've downloaded all the camera updates and we'll get to see if this flagship camera is back up to par. And finally, the last problem from 6 months ago, apps like Home Up. We're using 10 gigs of RAM at a time. That's literally my wallpaper taking up 10 gigs of RAM. As a side effect, I would have massive draining of the battery and excessive heat. So we'll find out if that bug, as well as all the other minor issues with ONE UI7, have been fixed and smoothed it out as well. And if you like the wallpapers, they're free. All you gotta do is subscribe, follow the Instagram, and DM your YouTube name and S25U. That's it. That's it. Let's get started with the battery 6 months later. Oh, you thought I was doing this indoors? Ladies and gentlemen, we are outside, okay? This is where I'm going to be running this test, and it's going to have the S25 Ultra accompany me on the track underneath the sun. I'm gonna have this connected to my Bluetooth earbuds, the Beats Fit Pros, and while I run, the music that's playing on the YouTube app is obviously what I'm gonna be hearing. On the bottom half is going to be stopwatch, and that's what I use to time myself around the mile. I don't actually stop and like click the button, I just keep an eye on it. I think I've yapped enough. Let's get out there. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. The news you're all waiting for, all right? The S25 Ultra. Let me get a heating test first before it cools down a bit too much. Here we go. 93.5. It's doing better than I expected. As far as the battery is concerned, 93% charge, okay? Obviously, we started at 100. So we've lost 7% of battery. Now, the amount of heat that this produced 6 months ago, atrocious. And obviously that has been fixed, apparently, according to this, because if it was going to heat up 2 apps simultaneously, about 30 minutes underneath the sun at about 80 degrees Fahrenheit, oh no, 89 degrees Fahrenheit, this should have been heating already. And it's possible it's because I lowered the threshold for performance. That's probably why it's not heating up as much. But again, if that's a solution, if you already have this phone, definitely activate it. But as far as battery drain, 6% is what we got on the S25 Ultra. Just for reference, I lost 2% on the Pixel 9a, this phone. And if you want to see that battery drain, we did the same exact test on a phone that costs less than $500 and has the same battery as the S25 Ultra, same size. Posted a Pixel 9a video a few weeks ago, so you can go check that one out. On the other hand, phones like the Z Flip 6, this will lose about 5%. The 6% I lost on the S25 Ultra isn't out of the ordinary. It's still more than phones like the Pixel 9a. So as far as battery is concerned, if you set your performance to light and you lowered the performance threshold, then you're obviously going to see less performance out of your phone, but you will save both the battery and you'll save heating, which is going to save the components of your phone in the long term. It's a compromise that I think is definitely worth it if you're especially looking to keep this phone for a very long time. Next, it's all about the cameras, and there are a few fixes that Samsung made here. The biggest of all, video. I'm usually shooting in UHD 30p for what I feel looks the most pleasant for everyday video and film. Main camera video is no longer jittery and overall flows very smooth. There's also no rolling shutter effect anymore, so honestly, I'll give this an easy pass. The telephoto camera also works well, although at times it does hard lock into position, so when you move the camera, you get a violent nudge, but overall, no more crazy jitters, so it's a fix in my books. Now looking at the photos, arguably the most important aspect of all, and honestly, it's still not a camera experience anyone expects out of a phone that costs over $1,000, and let me explain why. First, when you have a subject that's in a shadow with plenty of light behind it, it looks like a super humid picture is being taken, compared to the same take on the ZF6 and the P9a, but most interestingly, guys, this is the S23 Ultra's first shot of the same situation. Do you see how much clearer it is? More importantly, look at the details. This is my problem with all of the insane AI they pack into this S25 Ultra. The AI rubs away at the details to extrapolate a cleaner looking image, while the older S23 Ultra doesn't. The S23 picture looks a lot more realistic with a lot more details conserved, especially when you zoom in, than the S25 Ultra. But what if you really try hard to get the S25 Ultra to work? Take 45 pictures, hold your hand really steady, select your focus target manually, and manually lower the exposure to get rid of the light invasion. Even after all of that, doesn't change much, to be completely honest. AI processing is still an issue, and one way to get rid of that is by going raw and shooting in JPEG, and then color grading afterwards. But who's really doing all of that? I'm not recommending shooting raw on your phone to anybody right now, simply because they're phones. Like the S23 Ultra, the P9a, and the Vivo X200 that are straight shooters right out of the box. These phones take incredible pictures without much friction at all. And do you guys remember the time when YouTubers would go out at night with an S23 Ultra, it's over there, and take a picture of the moon because of how awesome the low light shooting was supposed to be? Low light isn't even a headliner for Samsung anymore, and that's resulted in low light performance that still lags behind mid-tier phones like the P9a, and in my opinion also lags behind the S23 Ultra. And I've been against most of these AI features from the start. Like, I do not need Galaxy to tell me what to wear. 3 neurons I have left are enough for it. All these AI providers, like Samsung, make you pay for the device, then you become friends with the AI in the device, and then they sell your data to first-party data providers like Facebook or TikTok. Now, it's not your personal data. They obviously have to aggregate it. They have to, so that your specific information isn't released. It's going out as an aggregate, but they're going to make so much money off of it, it's insane. So if you're also in the same boat as me and you're wondering why Samsung is so dead set on pushing its AI at the expense of everything else, they're playing the long game, and you're going to be cleaned out. With that grim report, I bring you the final test, the ONE UI7 Bugs and glitches. And honestly, the best way to run this test is to check what happens when you watch YouTube. That's it. I've got my home page and widgets, and I'm going to watch a YouTube video that's 45 minutes long. This is going to give me all the information that I need by monitoring RAM usage, as well as monitoring device heating and battery drain. And after the 45 minutes were up, I decided to keep going, played some games, replied to some emails, and made a phone call. And here are the results. From the entirety of usage, and not just the short session, the biggest battery killer of the day was the camera. That ate up the battery. And it was also the second biggest cause of heating, second only to the sun when we were outside. Next, YouTube did cause the phone to heat up significantly and started to glitch around 20-minute mark of watching videos. That's where when I scrolled through the video or down to the comments, things would stutter, freeze, or even restart or close a video randomly. However, YouTube did not cause any significant battery drain. So although, there were a few stutters here and there were a few spikes in the back heating, no battery drain. So those are the 3 tests, and this is what we have after 6 months of updates. We've got a few fixes happening, especially with the camera, especially with things with YouTube that are not necessarily Samsung apps. The Home Up app, the wallpaper, that, like I said, has been completely fixed. So the wallpaper or Home Up is no longer causing spikes in RAM usage. However, YouTube apps, not Samsung apps, not really in their control, are still causing some abnormal heating on the back of the phone, but are not draining the battery as significantly anymore, although there are still glitches and stutters within the app. Camera performance, to go over really quickly, as you know, like I told you, the S23 Ultra is still my preferred camera, and that's only because of the absence of AI processing, which I'm all for. I really do not like this AI processing, and I feel like Samsung is making up for their lack of ingenuity in the camera space by pushing their AI. It's not even a feeling, that's exactly what they're doing. When you compare the S25 Ultra to something like the S23 Ultra, which doesn't have all that much AI, relies a lot more on that camera sensor and the camera quality, and you can see that in the image when you get all of those details. Now, the S25 Ultra does conserve details as well. Like, for example, if you take a picture of a tag and you zoom in, you should be able to read that tag. However, you'll be able to see very quickly that it's not the camera that was doing all of the work to retain that detail. It was the AI looking at the tag and then trying to put things together and filling in the letters. Like, it has a very common stereotypic AI quality to it. And of course, battery, it's as good as the Z Flip 6. Will it still last me an entire day? Sure. Days that I'm not doing too much work, or days that maybe I'm staying home, yeah, it'll last me days that I'm staying home. But if I'm going outside, if I'm going to like lecture, or I'm going to college classes, things like that, then even with the light settings on, I don't think it's going to be a comfortable day for me. I'm gonna have to charge this at least once that day, especially if I'm using things like Google Maps. I'm gonna be on data all day. I'm using YouTube in my car. I've got to connect it via Bluetooth. No way it's gonna last me a whole day without connecting it at least one point to a charger throughout the day. So that's been the review of the S25 Ultra. If you enjoyed, make sure to smash the subscribe button and the like button as well. It really helps. And until next time, take it easy. Peace.